Vaughn, it's so nice you came along with. And as a bonus, you've both arrived in one piece. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's been a long time. Kyra beamed at you, and while you would have loved nothing more than to settle down and rest after the drive, you could see she wasn't going to let you go that easily. So how was the trip? I admit I was just a pinch worried. We barely made it. I appreciate your concern, but it was alright. You felt the fussing unnecessary. You let Cove answer that. It was fine. No problem for us. Kyra clapped her hands together, the bracelets around her wrists jangling. I'm so proud. I can hardly believe how mature you both are. Where did all those smarts come from? Cove ran a hand over his hair with an awkward chuckle.
I don't know.
Maybe I got some from my parents. His mom looked up at him deeply, her eyes glistening, and she shook the sentimentality off with a wave of her hand.
Anywho's.
You have to be half asleep already, huh? I don't want to keep you up much longer. Early morning and any whoosies. How do you want to deal with the sleeping arrangements? I've only got my room and Cove's, though the living room couch isn't bad. Vaughn can use my bed. I'll just sleep on the floor in the room. It doesn't matter for one night. Kyra laughed out loud, startling you both. You raised an eyebrow at her outburst, giving her a quizzical look. Oh yeah, you'll just stay on the floor. You couldn't handle that much back when you were 13 with both your parents in the room. Cove blushed a dark red and gaped, completely unprepared for her to pull out that embarrassing moment from the past.
Hey!
Mom? You blushed. You laughed it off. He's had a long day. It's cruel to tease the poor boy so late, even if it's true. Yep, she's right. That's totally what you do. You were annoyed. She knows she's sensitive. It was uncalled for. You put a hand on Cove's arm in a show of support. He gave you a grateful smile, and Kyra cooed at the two of you.
Hey!
Mom? She finally let it drop, and you tried to move on. I'll take the floor. I'll sleep on the couch in the living room. Thank you for letting me have the bed. I mean, I don't mind sleeping on the floor or on the couch. So, I'll just say I'll sleep on the couch in the living room. Cove shook his head, dismissing the idea immediately.
No.
You're the guest. All right, I'll have the bed. I don't want to take your bed. So here's the thing, like, I think I mentioned this in another video. I like to be hospitable. I like to be generous. And if I'm offering something to you, I'm doing it because I want to do it, right? So it's cool if I say, hey, you can have my bed. It's cool for you to say, oh, no, I wouldn't want to take your bed. It's cool for you to say that, but if I insist on you taking the bed, and you're still like, no, I'll be in the couch, it's fine. Like, if you genuinely would prefer the couch over the bed, that's one thing. But if deep down inside you do feel like, well, taking, Hark's bed instead of the couch would be nice, I want you to accept my generosity. I want you to accept, being a good host and all that good stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't feel guilty about saying yes when somebody's trying to be nice to you, or somebody's trying to be a good host for you, or someone's trying to give you something generously, because there are people in the world who appreciate being able to follow through with their generosity, or following through with their good hostedness. And if you are steadfast and insist on not accepting it, then I feel like it's a lose-lose situation. Not only are you losing out on being able to do something or have something that deep down inside you feel like, I would prefer that deep down inside if I allowed myself to admit it. And in addition, you are also, not allowing somebody who genuinely likes being generous and likes the feeling of being a good host, like, you are robbing them of that satisfaction too. It's a lose-lose, not a win-win. So yeah. So for in this case, I said, no, it's okay. I don't have to take your bed. I'll take the couch, and it'll be okay. And then Cove insisted, and I'm like, all right, well, if you insist, I would enjoy having the bed instead of the couch. I would. So, alright, I'll have the bed. Thank you for offering. And then, everything is polite. Everything is polite. So, would you be okay with me sleeping on the floor in the room? I'd rather be there than out in the open in the living room, even if there is a couch. I understand that. Like, there's some security about sleeping in a bedroom versus sleeping in a big open living room space. Like, I totally get that. I prefer you were on the couch. Yeah, you can sleep there. It's your room. Kyra giggled softly, drawing her attention back to her. All funny stuff aside, you need to get some sleep for tomorrow. Seems like you're setting yourselves up to not get any. I knew that sounds really captious, but I'm a mom. I have to say these things. What does captious mean? Come on, we're not little kids having a sleepover. We're responsible adults, right, Fawn? Yes, very responsible. No, we're not. Well, I am. Cove, though. No, I think Cove's pretty responsible. Cove is, though I can't say the same for myself. He simply smiled at him. Maybe you should sleep in the living room after all. No, I was very responsible at this age. I like to think I'm still responsible. Yes, very responsible. She gave the two of you a suspicious look, and you stood up straighter, trying to prove your point. I'll leave it at that then, for now. Just remember that the walls are thin in this apartment. If you can't settle down and sleep, I might have to separate you. We'll be good. Yeah, we'll be good. Walls are thin, we'll be good. Perfect. Kyra clasped her hands together, her bracelets softly tinkling against each other again. It's only getting later, so I better let you prepare for bed. She nodded towards the hallways and gave you a small smile. I'll play hostess for a sec and show you where the bathroom is first, Fawn, and where you'll be staying the night. Thank you. You hoisted your travel bag back to your shoulder and followed behind Kyra and down the hallway. Cove shuffled along behind you, disappearing into the bedroom while his mom had you go to the restroom. The apartment was small, but nicely decorated in soft, cool colors, with plenty of artwork hanging on the walls to give it character. It was stylish and exactly what you would have expected from someone like Kyra. After being shown the bathroom, oh, this is a nice room, I like the starfish and all that, and wishing Kyra good night, you headed into the room and found Cove already there. He had changed into his sleepwear for night as well. Looking around, you found the bedroom and looked much the same. You found the bedroom to look much the same as the rest of the apartment, but with small ocean elements you were sure Cove must have enjoyed when he stayed there. All in all, the room was pretty and clean, though it almost looked more like a hotel room than a hotel guest room than a bedroom. Cove only spent a few weeks out of the year there, so it made sense that it wasn't especially lived in. So? What do you think? It's pretty nice, huh? My mom always keeps it clean and everything, even when I'm not here. It's a great room. It seriously looks like a hotel room. That's sweet of her, you nodded. It's a great room. Cool, I'm glad you like it. He seemed pleased enough with the response and gave you a small smile before opening the zip on his bag. When you went back to the room, you jumped in bed and under the covers, just as Cove was shuffling into his sleeping bag on the floor. You waited until he was settled in before you flipped off the lights, and a soft glow from the outside peeked through the blinds, casting shadows over the floor. You closed your eyes, blocking everything out. Night. Night, Fawn. Night, Cove. Sleep well. The room grew quiet as the two of you wound down for the night, and you found yourself listening to the sounds of the city outside the window. The noise out there was so different to what you were used to back home. Cars zooming past and people out having fun instead of crashing waves and the ocean winds cocooning your house in their embrace. This feels familiar, don't you think? We've been having sleepovers for years. Cove mumbled quietly and rustled in his bedding, turning to face towards your location. Right? Right? It feels like I've had this view so many times, looking up over at you tucked into bed. He trailed off a little, and you assumed he was drifting off to sleep, too tired to continue the conversation. But then, as if a switch had been hit, he sprung up, startling you as he shot upright in his sleeping bag. Wait a minute. Why am I always on the floor? What? You raised your eyebrows at him through the dark. The times I slept over at your house, you got to stay in your bed. It was your bed, after all. Well, I mean, I offered to let you have your bed. I was gonna sleep on the couch. And you were like, take my bed. You insisted. Okay, that's fine. Cove, if you want your bed back, I'm not gonna keep it away from you. You can have your bed. It's your bed. I'm fine with sleeping on the couch or the floor. But at this point, I would probably be like, that's fine. I'll sleep on the couch. The times I slept over at your house, you got to stay in your bed. It was your bed after all. But when it was my family hosting things, Dad always made sure you got a bed there. You got a bed there. The words spilled out of him faster and faster, the pitch of his voice rising as the revelation spiraled. He'd say that you were the guest, so it was only right. No matter what, I've always been the one who takes the floor. Every time. This is a racket. You burst out laughing. I'm sorry, I didn't want it to be that way. Them's the breaks. You only just realized he was right. Shh, don't be so loud. You didn't know how to react. I'm sorry, I didn't want it to be that way. You felt really bad about the whole thing, but Cove was too hysterical to listen. My life is crumbling. Okay, alright, well, here, Cove, we'll just let you have your bed, and then you can get it together. Pick up the broken pieces of your life. I can't believe it. That's been going on for 10 years. He stopped suddenly, and you could see through the limited light that his eyebrows were angled in disbelief, his frown wobbly in shock. That's how it is in my family. My moms have always thought it was more fun and comfortable for the guests to use their own sleeping things rather than a stranger's bed. And in my family, the guests get the bed because it's good to make sure your guest has a proper place to sleep. We were opposites all along, but I never ever thought about it. When it looked like the situation was going to stall there, Cove sighed suddenly, his shoulders slumping in sleep-addled defeat. This was this point that I would just offer the bed back to him. Forget it. It's too late to take back all those nights on the floor. At least I can think of myself as being really considerate. You are really considerate. He sounded resigned to his fate. Despite looking on the bright side, he was still pouting. You sighed. I did offer for you to take the bed tonight, you know. Oh, Cove, I feel bad you're unhappy. Thank you for making the sacrifices for me. Quit being a baby. You went over him to cheer him up. I said, I did offer for you to take the bed tonight, you know.
I know.
I do know, but you were still the guest and I had the epiphany. Okay, well, you can still have it back. I'm surprised there wasn't an option to say, you can have the bed. Just take the bed. It's not a big deal. With a tired sigh, he flopped back down. I can make do with the floor, for old time's sake. Some real humor came back to his tone. It's basically a tradition by now. Are you really sure you don't want the bed? Why don't we share? You dropped the topic for tonight. No, we're not going to share because I don't want anything. I already said we're going to be responsible. We're going to be responsible. Are you really sure you don't want the bed? I don't mind trading places. No, it's all right. It's more important that you're comfortable. Well, Cove.
Don't worry about it.
You were having a crisis here. I'm trying to avert the crisis. You're already doing me a big favor by coming here in the first place. Just let me do this one thing and give you the bed. That's what I want for this trip, okay? If that's what you want, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm not gonna fight you. Pursing your lips tight, you gave a small nod and admitted defeat. Alright, I'll take the bed. Thanks, Cove. He made a small noise but said no more. With an accepting sigh, you pulled the covers up under your chin and got comfortable. The next day dawned, bringing with it the sounds of birds chirping happily outside the window. You opened your eyes slowly, letting them adjust to the light as you tried to recall where you were and remembering the unfamiliar sight of Cove's second bedroom. You had woken up on your own. You reached over to turn off the alarm you had set. Cove had nudged you awake. I don't know, because, I am the kind of person who would set an alarm if I really felt like it was important for us to wake up by a certain time. But if I'm just... But, this is Cove's thing, so I figured if Cove needs to be... I'm just along for the ride. So if Cove really needed us to be timely about something, really needed us to be up at a certain time, then that would really be his alarm to set. You know, I'm just here to help out, help keep him company. So, I don't know if Cove would have nudged me awake because I don't think I would have overslept. So, I typically don't oversleep at these kind of things, so I'd woken up with my own. The early morning sun filtered through the blinds, telling you it was about time to get out of bed and started getting ready for the day. The sound of Cove shuffling around the room drew your attention, though you weren't surprised. He had always been a morning person. Sitting up in bed, you let out a yawn and stretched your arms above your head. You still felt pretty groggy. You felt okay. You were quite refreshed. I mean, I wouldn't say I was 100% refreshed, because I figured we probably were chatting for a bit. I'll say I felt okay. Oh no, I felt okay. Okay. Considering the long drive the day before and the late night, you were feeling ready to get the day started. Though you weren't as perky as him, his energy was infectious. Good. I mean, I would be perky because I'm a morning person-ish. I'll say we're quite refreshed. I don't want to say that Cove was more perky than I am. I don't see that happening. There was a lot to do, and you were ready and willing to get into it and get ready for the trip home. Good morning. How did you sleep? Pretty good, thanks. You? Yeah, I was fine. You pulled yourself out of bed, grabbing a fresh change of clothes and your toiletries before heading to the bathroom. After all that, you met Cove back in his room. He was sitting on the floor when you entered, sorting through a bunch of stuff in a box, determining what to bring and what to leave behind. Hey, can you pull out the stuff in those drawers? You nodded, though he hadn't even looked up from his task, so you knew he wouldn't have seen. Heading over to his drawers, you started the task of taking out various items and setting them on the ground in front of Cove. Hey, look at this. When you turned towards the sound of Cove's voice, you found him digging through one of the drawers beneath the bed.
Neat.
Here's something I definitely need to bring. Neat. Craning your head, you got a better glimpse of what he was holding. An old yellowing book. When he opened it, there were a few dried pressed flowers between the pages. Those had been gifts you'd given to him for his mom's place. Something for him to remember you by and to make his time there less lonely. He kept them the whole time. You don't have to hold on to these forever. I wouldn't say that. Hold them for as long as you really want them if they're really that sentimental to you. I was only lending you those. I think I'll take them back now, you joke. It's adorable that you care so much for them. You started to feel emotional. Of course you should take them. I'll say you started to feel emotional. Cove looked up at you when you sniffled quietly, seeming concerned. You wiped away the tears that were building in your eyes, feeling a little silly. Yeah, see, I get really emotional and really sentimental very easily. Sorry. He smiled at you, his face softening. Why would you apologize? It's alright. It's wonderful. Thank you.
It's nice.
These are special. It was important having a piece of you with me when we were apart. I feel the same way. That's why I gave them to you. Cove smiled, pleased that the feeling was mutual, but then the expression became more amused. And did you keep the souvenirs I brought back? Of course. Nope, you said jokingly. No, you said honestly. No, of course. His grin grew to completion. Thanks. Another hour passed by in silence. I don't remember what the souvenirs were. Did we know about those souvenirs, or was that just something they just mentioned here for the first time? I honestly don't remember. Vaughn would have remembered, but I didn't. Another hour passed by in silence, and you were happy to see you were making great progress in Cove's room, with only the closet left to sort through. You took a minute to take a mouthful of water from your bottle and perched on the edge of the bed, feeling productive. Cove glanced over at you and paused, putting down the tape gun he had been using to seal up his boxes. You raised an eyebrow. You know, it's really strange to see you sitting in this room. Why? He frowned a little, his eyes distant and his voice quiet when he spoke next.
That's...
During the visits to Mom's, when I was sitting alone in this room, I'd sometimes think about how you weren't here. It was a weird feeling at the time, and that you just weren't around, and now that you are here, it's this exact place. I don't know how to explain the feeling. He shrugged it off and smiled a little, as though he'd said enough already and didn't want to risk sounding silly. Life is pretty confusing, is all. I didn't know you thought about me when you were away. That's true, life makes no sense. I missed you so much when you were gone. You smiled at him. I'll say I missed you so much when you were gone. I would have thought that. I mean, I thought of him. Why wouldn't he have thought of me? I miss you so much when you were gone. His brows crinkled as he looked at you solemnly, his eyes bright with emotion. I missed you too, all the time. It made you feel better to know that somehow. To know that when you were stuck at home, missing his company, that he was missing yours too. He looked away satisfied, heading over to the closet and the last of the items to be sorted. Before long, every box, closet, and drawer had been thoroughly combed through, with the items either neatly packed up in boxes or organized and returned to their proper place. With a sigh of relief, you glanced around the bedroom and the work you had done together.
All right.
We're done. Good job to us. I'm going to change out of my PJs for the drive. Yeah. When the two of you headed out into the living room, ready to get everything finalized and hit the road, you found Kyra in the kitchen pouring a cup of tea. Cove headed towards her, leaning casually against the counter that divided the two spaces. Hey, you didn't have to get up so early.
Come on.
Are you crazy? Of course I have to see you off before you go. You can't sneak away while I'm out cold. She beamed at him and in all honesty seemed more than happy to be up and getting ready for the day. Do you want some breakfast? I've got some with muesli or eggs and toast. Oh, and some of that fruity cereal that you used to love. Yes, the answer is yes. To breakfast? Yes. That's okay. We should really eat on the road. Only as long as we pick up something really good for breakfast. Kyra smiled sadly, a little disappointed, but she seemed to understand that your time was running thin. Kyra smiled. Yeah. I thought you might say that. In that case, I packed you some snacks for the road.
What do you think?
Even if you don't end up eating them, take it anyway just in case. You can always feed them to Cliff when you get home, and tell him I said hi. I'll take the snacks. I don't say no to food. Cove laughed and shook his head, knowing his dad would love nothing more than to polish off whatever food Kyra had prepared for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. You really didn't have to. Thank you for the snacks. That's nice of you to organize this for us. It must be a mom thing to know stuff like that. I'll definitely eat whatever you packed. You smiled quietly, looked at her. I'll definitely eat whatever you packed. You better save some for me too. Kyra giggled, hiding her mouth behind her hand. There's plenty there for both of you. She returned your smile with one of her own before putting her cup of tea aside. Well, I'll help you get the car packed.
Sure.
Sure, thanks. The three of you got a move on, taking the boxes from Cove's bedroom and heading down to fill the back seat of the car until there was barely an inch of space left in the back and trunk. With all of you helping, it only took a couple of trips to move everything and you were done before you knew it. Then it was truly time to say goodbye. You convened back inside the apartment where Kyra looked over the two of you with a quiet smile. It was great to see you both. Thank you for coming. She gave each of you a hug and you felt a little sad that you hadn't been able to spend more time with her. It was good to see you too, Mom. Cove embraced her in return, the two of them holding on to each other for a few seconds longer. I'll miss you, but I'll visit again soon.
Of course.
You better. Hey, we should make plans for you to visit us too. I'll let you know when it's settled. I'd love that. Kyra bundled all the stuff she prepared into a bag and handed them over to you. You took a quick peek at what she had packed. There was fruit, nuts, seeds, hard-boiled eggs, and some veggie sticks.
Cool.
Oh, good to see we've got some fresh food options now. The snacks I brought weren't. Kyra shook her head at him and let out a soft laugh, as though she wouldn't have expected anything else. I seriously hope you're feeding yourself better than at home. Yeah, of course, just not on trips. I can live with that then. She looked over him fondly, her eyes at last focusing on his face and filling with emotion. I'm going to miss you, baby.
Me too.
Me too. Goodbye. Thank you for letting us come. We'll all be together again before you know it. We'll all be together. You know what to say. We'll all be together again before you know it. I hope so. Kyra put her arm around you both, pulling you in tighter to her sides for one final squeeze.
Bye.
Have a safe trip. We will. With a last goodbye, you exited the apartment, though Cove hesitated for a moment at the door, his expression distant. You weren't sure what he was doing, though you tentatively took a step towards him. Everything okay? Your voice seemed to bring him back to earth, and he shook his head to clear his thoughts, his green hair swaying from side to side.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. With that, the two of you headed back down to the car, ready to make the long trip home. Soon enough, you were on the wide open road with a car full of Cove's things and only one destination: Sunset Bird, California. The drive went as smoothly as could be expected, with the morning slowly creeping into midday as the miles flew by. After a while, you switched places with Cove and took over driving for a couple of hours. The day flew by in a whir of open road and sunshine, and before you knew it, it was early afternoon. By that point, you had already crossed the state line. Cove announced that he had planned a little stop on the way home. He was quite pleased with himself as you arrived at the precipice. The Redwood National Park. Shaded beneath a canopy of enormous redwood trees, you drove along. Then Cove parked the car, you pushed the door to get out, and the first thing you did was look up. Oh, I remember. Yeah, we came back here. Enormous redwood trees surrounded you on all sides, their massive trunks shooting straight up into a canopy of foliage overhead. There were too many of them to count, stretching on and as far as you could see. You squinted against the sunlight that was peeking through the leaves and dancing on the paths around you. It's great, right? He smiled at you from over the roof of the car before glancing around the place fondly. Remember the trip our families took here that one summer? It was cool going on a journey and seeing the forest in person, even if we didn't stay very long.
So...
And I guess we can stay for even less this time. But, oh well. It just seemed like a good time to stop by. Who knows when we'll get another chance. His voice got a little softer at the end. It seemed to be bittersweet for him, being in a place that he was so fond of, but not having the time to appreciate it fully. You were pleased to stop there. You felt pretty good about being there. You didn't mind either way. You would have preferred not to stop at all. No, I mean, I would have. Yeah, I mean, I think the redwood forest would have been fine. I felt I didn't mind either way. Like, I think once I've been to a place like this, I would have been like not indifferent, but fine about it. Yeah, you were pleased to have stopped there. You felt pretty good about being there. I feel like Cove would be more excited about this place than I would. You didn't mind either way. At least you got to stretch your legs for a bit, but you knew you'd have to leave again pretty soon. Thanks for bringing me here. There will be more chances in the future, I promise. It's better than taking a break at a gas station. I'll put up with you for the trees. I'll put up with this place for you. You said nothing. I wouldn't say I put up with it. Thanks for bringing me here. I'll say it's better than taking a break at a gas station. Cove nodded, his eyes drinking in the nature surrounding you. It's more beautiful anyway. The two of you walked around for a while, completely dwarfed by the sheer scale of the redwoods. It kind of put your view of yourself and everything in a strange perspective. You took in a lungful of clean forest air, listening to the sounds of bird song, and a cool breeze rustling through the underbrush, taking advantage of the space to move around freely. However you felt about being there, it was a totally different scene than sitting in that old car for hours and hours. That's true. You wrapped an arm around Cove. You took Cove's hand. You felt Cove nudge your hand. You wrapped an arm around Cove. He relaxed onto your touch and smiled at you fondly, enjoying the closeness. Being here again, you couldn't help but reminisce on what else had happened during the trip you had taken here all that time ago. There were a lot of things that had reminded you of it recently. You looked over at Cove, who seemed to be lost in the peace of the place, and you wondered if any of it crossed his mind. Smiling at the sight, you thought back on what had been a highlight of that long-gone vacation. You know we spent the night in the loft together. Elizabeth teased us merciless on the trip, remember? Our families were so close. Remember how a bird stole your dad's lunch? I haven't forgotten the classic anklet chat. There's a lot I could say about this. You know we spent a night on the loft together. There was barely enough room for the two of us, but it was fun. Cove chuckled and shook his head at the moment. It was memorable, especially when I got caught up there by my parents in the morning. He laughed, and soon enough you were joining him. It had been pretty embarrassing for him at the time, but you were glad he could look back and laugh about it now. It really is cool when the game references previous moments like this. I enjoy when they do that. You continued chatting about the trip a little while longer, about the things you had seen and done and even eaten. A lot of the memories Cove had on the trip were similar to your own, but you were also surprised to hear of a few things from his point of view. So much had happened that there was no shortage of things to talk about. The place certainly had a nostalgic quality about it. Hey, Vaughn? You looked over at the sound of Cove saying your name to find him smiling at you, seeming relaxed amongst the nature of the park. Has anyone ever told you before that you have gorgeous eyes? Because you do. The words left his lips and you froze, completely taken aback by the compliment. He blushed, but his gaze remained on you.
Hi.
That's another thing that happened during the trip. You're so sweet. Your eyes are much more beautiful. I was gonna say, aquamarine eyes are very rare. Compared to my brown eyes, brown is a dominant trait. It is super common. So I feel like Vaughn's eyes, because they are more rare, are far more beautiful than mine. You put a hand on your forehead ready to swoon. You found it difficult to hide your blush. I could never forget. You can't just say things like that with no warning. No, I like it when he says things like that. Your eyes are much more beautiful. You bit down your lip as you gazed into his aquamarine eyes, admiring the different blues, and the hint of green that swirled in them. Your spirits were light as you ambled past information boards and picnic areas. But before long, you decided it was time to bring this short stop to an end and head back to the car to get on the road again. Cove sighed when you finally reached the vehicle, jangling the keys in his hand before unlocking the doors.
Well,
I wish we didn't have to go, but we're going to be responsible and not stay longer than we should. How grown up of you. Yeah, otherwise we're going to be driving really late at night, and I'd prefer not to. That's another reason why I guess I'm more, indifferent, is because I know it's a long drive, and I would not want to be driving late at night so stopping here is fine, but I wouldn't want to linger here for too long if it meant that we would be extra late at night. He smiled slightly, and with that, The two of you jumped into the car, buckled in, and he put it in drive. You were getting closer and closer to town as the sun started setting, though we're still far enough away that the radio stations were unfamiliar to you.